welcome back to Mountain Adventures. This week you're going to see us tackling part 2 of our wall build, and as you're going to see, it's driving us a little bit mad by this point.
So after the second dry fit of our lovely wall, we've realised we can't have it quite where we want at the moment because of the back of that seat, so we've de-upholstered our beautiful finish, so I'm gutted about that. So we're just going to try and gouge out a small channel from this, just so it fits past that little bit of foam just at the top there.
What I'm going to do is just re-upholster this a little bit. So we took all the staples out because around the back here we had it all folded over, which was just bulking this out unnecessarily. So we've taken that all out. I'm going to staple it nice and flat, maybe trim it off a bit as well. Let's get to it. Right, what I've now done is use the glue we used before to do this section of the seat, to just stick down the bits where the staples would have been visible if we'd stapled. As you can tell, getting pressure on the seat like this is a little bit tricky. So last time we had the whole seat out and we were able to tip it on its side and then just put something heavy against this to weight it down. This time we really can't be bothered to take the seat out, so come up with this mad contraption of clamps and string and elastic bands, and we'll see how that works out. It's been a little while and the glue is now dried, so this is pretty much what it will look like as a finished product. We've glued up here, around here, and then we've just stapled around the back because you won't see these parts, so the wall comes pretty much like to there.
After shaving off a lot of the insulation board, the wall now sits where we want, and so we move on to cutting the rest of the insulation. We're currently looking at cutting the insulation just around this little notch here. This is the level of professionalism that we are aiming for. Oh, look at that. That is notched like nothing has ever been notched before. Oh, look at that notchings. That, I'll accept it.
Yeah, is that
I'll allow it. And then, yeah, we just need to carry on following this curve, past this, and up to here. The first shaving is complete. So that follows this very odd shape down, and then higher up we'll either try and put another piece in here, or we'll use the fluffy plastic bottle insulation in place where we can't get to it, so just behind here. Or we could try and squeeze a triangle in, we'll see. We'll work it out. But yeah, that's quite a good fit actually. So we're going to try and see if that fits on the other side. And if it does fit on the other side, template, but I doubt it.
got so much insulation on me? Ah!
And we'll call it there for a day.
Yeah.
It's getting dark. It's getting a bit chilly. Brr.
With the insulation sorted, we moved on to making a template for the actual plywood that will cover our wall. Now, this involved a lot of measuring, a lot of scribing, a lot of test fitting, and as these clips will show, a lot of cutting.
After a lot of work, a bit of shouting, and probably some swearing at some points, we've managed to get a template in place. It's in 3 pieces, but a template in place for this slightly odd shape, and this, which will then finish in about the right place. And then, in theory, we can flip it over and it'll match the other side. But I have my doubts. I do. I doubt. I'm a non-believer. Are you a believer?
I thought love was only true in fairy tales, meant for someone else, but not for me. Love was out to get me, do 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 do. That's the way it seemed, do 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 do. Disappointment haunted all my dreams. And then I saw our wall, do, 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 do. Now I'm a believer.
Oh dear. Let us know if you want a few more karaoke covers. Now the template's sorted and Aisha has stopped singing, we can now cut out the actual piece of wood.
Right, this is the front of our partition wall that fits up there on the passenger side. What we're now trying to do is cut out the gap in this for our cupboard. So you can see we've already got our cupboard door cut out. So that will eventually sit in the middle of this somewhere. But the bottom of our piece isn't perfectly flat. As you can see, we've got some curves in it, so we can't just measure it directly up from there because it won't quite line up. So what we're going to attempt to do is Alex will put the piece up here and hold it in place, and I'm going to climb through to the other side and attempt to mark in here where we think it lines up, or where it looks like it lines up. We'll then go in a little bit shy of that, so we've got some wiggle room, cut it out, dry fit it, check it, maybe trim it down, and then repeat the process until we've got it fitting nice and snug.
So after a lot of work, this first piece of the wall is in. We're quite happy with how it turned out. Finally, there's some odd shapes down here, which weren't actually too bad, but this side was quite complicated because it's mostly straight and then it starts curving off. But we've also done it so that the bottom of the wall is inside this trim and the top of the wall you might be able to see is outside that trim. So not only have we got to do that curve, we've also got to do it kind of coming outwards at an angle. But we're happy with this piece now. We're not going to touch it again, because that will just ruin me. Yeah, and then we did cut a door for this cabinet, which is now slightly too short width-wise, so we need to cut a new door for this, which will hinge open, so the hinge will be on this side. It needs a bit of a filing down, but that will open like that.
It'll be a nice little cupboard for us. Yeah, this wall so far has definitely been a bit of a labour of love, or maybe a labour of hate by the time we were done with it. But so far, this is the only casualty, this poor piece of door. So we'll recut that. And everything else we've managed to make work with a bit of faffing and recutting, and we'll do a bit of sanding as well. So now we just need to do the other half. Way!
So I've got my scribe here. I'm going to try and scribe this slightly awkward corner.
With the scribing done, it's back to yet more cutting. We've now scribed this driver's side piece as well into the corner. So what we're going to do next, as you can see, this piece overhangs quite a bit. We're going to cut it down so it lines up with the edge of our big door hatch, which is the door we'll be climbing through to get into the cab. And yeah, let's go get that done.
So we have just trimmed down that piece we were just talking about now, just to the edge of that hatch wall. So now the only piece left to cut is that beautiful door.
This is the final cut for the door, which means all that's left now is to sort out the cab side of the wall.
And then make it all look pretty somehow. But that will probably be for part 3, unless we work very rapidly.
Of insulation that fits in our wall, not in your wall, our wall.
All right in my wall. She's run off with my door.
You?
We're not professionals, as you can tell.
Are we not? What?
What? What? On the right hand side, We've just cut out the, just ripped it down. Oh, golly gosh, that was liquidy.